Well, happy Friday. How is everybody? How do you like my attire today? Yeah, been on the road for the last 3 weeks speaking and consulting. So today has been my first day home. I'm actually home for 4 days. And then next week I go to Dallas and I'm speaking for Ambient Energy's National Sales Conference, 3,500 people. So I'm excited about that. And we got a lot of questions today. I love it. So I've got to use two different devices. Um, let's see here. So I can read the questions on one and I can be live on the other. I know that there's a better way to do it. I just don't know how to do it. So bear with me here, y'all. I hope everyone's doing good. What a great meeting we had in Nashville, Tennessee. I am telling you, it was fantastic. Hold on, let me go over here to events. Here we go. Lisa Copeland, why am I struggling so much to find my event? I wonder if it's because my event is already live. Let's see, today's the 24th. Hold on. Here it is. Okay, there we go. I know there's got to be an easier way to do it. I'll talk to Jamie about it afterwards, I promise. All right, so why don't we jump right in? Dontarius? Boy, that's a cool name. I'm probably totally messing it up. Let me get my microphone a little bit closer. Okay, he says, Lisa, I heard a previous Facebook Live and you were doing an amazing job on time management. I haven't done that great of a job the last 3 weeks, so I'll tell you that. I'm curious, is there a particular software or system you use for entering clients, vendors, and new leads? But also, have you also have a scheduler and a calendar in it? I have a business development consulting business, and I'm also going to hire other consultants, and I want to have to use the same software for tracking purposes. Okay, yes, I have a couple, and I've got a new one. I'm going to have to post it, but I think it's like mondaysdon'tsuck.com. No, I'm just kidding. But it has something to do with Mondays, and we're trying it out right now. You know, the big thing that I say about time management, and because I run multiple companies and have multiple things going on, I have to block my time. I've done it as archaically in a paper planner, which I almost have to have that with me as much as my Outlook. I've got two different programs I've used, but this new one we're trying out because I'm hoping that we can do some project planning with it. So I will post the link when we get off, but it's critical. I mean, you know, in the world we live in, this noisy world we live in, with just multiple things going on, if you're not time blocking, you're never, ever going to accomplish everything you want to in a day. And if you're not intentional with your time, when you're running sales teams like what you're trying to do, you know, people will distract you. Right? In fact, I'd gotten a text a few minutes ago from my business partner on my biggest company, and it's, you know, she's super important. She's like, okay, right now I need you to jump in. And I said, I can't jump in right now. You know, she just had a meeting with a printer that we're doing a huge campaign with. I said, I can't jump in right now. I said, Lish, I have you scheduled from 1 to 3, and we'll jump on Zoom and we'll go through it. And she's like, but, and I'm like, there is no but. Okay, I've got most won't I will from 12 to 12:30. I've got another call from 12:30 to 12:50, which is my speaking business. And at 1 o'clock, I'll jump on with you. It's not negotiable unless it's my children or my grandchildren or the house is burning down. So you've got to be really, really intentional with those lines and guarding your time. So I will jump on and afterwards, and I will get you the links of the ones I've used in the past. Are any of them foolproof? They're not. Because if you don't, what am I trying to say? If you don't follow them, because it's super easy to get distracted. So, you know, I don't even let my business partner in my biggest company distract me. And it is important what she has to talk to me about, but I've got other commitments. I've got other stuff I need to do before I switch my brain into that mode. Okay, hope that helps, but I will get that over to you today. Ari, hi Lisa, after leaving BusinessCon, I have come up with a product or service I'd like to offer my clients that would entail quite a bit of tech knowledge. That is beyond my expertise, but I think I could bring a much bigger revenues and I could pass on smaller stuff to employees. Yeah, I have the idea, but not all of the knowledge to implement it. When do you know when it's appropriate to bring in an outside expert or try and study / learn the information yourself? Right now, I'm just trying to do all the research before I can even discuss my idea with anyone. Okay, well, I'm going to tell you this. Time is money. if you, and your time is money, Ari, if there's somebody you could go to right now and lay out your idea and float it, somebody who's an expert in the field, I would go now, because it's one of those things, it's either go time or you stick a bullet in it, one of the two. And where I have not been as successful on projects as others is when I ruminate on it too long, like when I think about it too many times, or I spend an extraordinary amount of time researching it when I could have just picked up the phone and paid a consultant. So I will tell you, I use consultants. I am a consultant, but I've got my area of expertise. I pay consultants because I know what my time is worth, and a good consultant should be able to talk you through it in about 2 hours. And it's worth every dime. Because and then at that point, especially if it's a technology issue, I know Sean's probably got technology people. I have a great technology guy who has gotten my stuff pulled together quickly. Again, we talked about it at BusinessCon, and I think I talked about it. You got to swim in your lane. You've 100% got to swim in your lane. And if you go out and you get distracted and you do all this research and spend hours on a project that's never going to make, compared to hiring an expert or a consultant in that field. And you need to hire somebody, because nobody's going to think through your project for free. That's just not going to happen, right? And and I've got friends at a very high level that are consultants, and I hire them, and because I want their best and their brightest. And then once I realize I've got something, everything today to scale, it has to do with technology. You and I talked about that out of the swimming pool. And so your next piece is technology. Now, if it's a course or something, I've got some really inexpensive platforms that I would recommend to you. The ones that I use that are very inexpensive, and you can load them up. They're very user-friendly, and they have a really strong marketing arm on the front of it. And you could launch and scale right away. So I hope that answers your question. You're welcome to ping me on the side, but that would be a long answer to a short question. Don't waste a lot of time. If you're not sure, bring in an expert right away, vet the idea. And when you talk to the consultant, not only vet it, first question is, do you think this is scalable? Do you think this is viable? That's pretty much a yes or no question if someone brought me in. Number two, what is it going to take to scale? And a good consultant knows that. And so, find that out right away. And you're an accountant, so the good news is for you, once you get the answers to those two questions, the third thing you want to do, of course, when you know it's viable and scalable, is that you want to build a pro forma, a business pro forma, which you're an expert at. And then so is it scalable? Is it viable? Is it scalable? And then number three, is it profitable? Right? Then you're off to the races, girlfriend. And the other thing I would think about is then how do you market it? Believe me, I've hired, they're still on my payroll. I've got very, very expensive team out of New York that does the creation and marketing of my stuff. Again, not my wheelhouse, right? Do I know how to market? Sure. But online marketing is a different game, right? I'm the expert. So I have another team that does a lot of my content writing. They go and then I just dump all my expertise on them. They come up with the questions. I give them the answers. Then they curate it. Anyways, it's a big project if you want to make big money, but it's worth it. But it starts with, is it viable, scalable, and profitable? Hey, Edwin, I got an email from you also. My goal has been to work on my taxes as well as my inventory system leaving BusinessCon. However, getting back, I have worked on the back end of my business just to keep it all running. By back end, I'm referring to a lot of the to-dos that pop up in my business that have been done in order to keep it running smoothly, as well as organizing the cash to make sure that each location has sufficient cash to cash checks for our check cash customers. I was especially busier than normal last week getting back from BusinessCon. And because I had a higher check cashing volume than normal, things settled down a bit this week in terms of volume, so I didn't have to do much running around like I did last week. But yeah, I still haven't dug into the tax things. Numero uno, you pay the government. We talked about that. Let's see, what do you suggest to do in my situation so I can fix tax stuff, get my tax stuff done quicker and faster, as well as create an inventory system for my business? Okay, those are two different scopes of work. I don't want to ignore the back end of the business that needs to be overseen. At the same time, I feel like I need to speed up the pace of tackling my taxes and creating the inventory system that I need to put in place for my business. Okay, two different things. Just like I just told Ari, you need to bring in a tax specialist. Hey, I bet Ari's for hire. There you go. You need to bring in a tax specialist. You need somebody to set up your chart of accounts and the things that you need to do so that you can easily just print a P&L and pay your taxes and get your house in order. That is consultant number one. Consultant number two is that you need to find a POS, which is a point of sale system company. Now they have their own consultants. So point of sale system is a retail program that every time you all sell something, that it charges the sales tax and it creates the reports. If anybody out, that is not my expertise. I haven't had to use point of sale systems in years because as car dealers, we had our own, what we called a DMS, which is a dealer management system. So if anybody out there can jump in on a great POS system, but I mean, the first thing you've got to do is you've got to find an accountant, that has a bookkeeper that works alongside of them that can set up all of this for you so it's seamless, so that you're not having to go back and backtrack all the time. But what I am super proud of you about, and I'm going to give you like total fist bump on it, is that you're doing it. You listened to what we said to you and you went back and you're starting to take action. But right now you've got this huge elephant, right, that you're trying to eat. Huge elephant. And the only way you can tackle a huge elephant is one bite at a time. I can tell you if it was me, the first thing for me, I would get my tax situation fixed first. I just would. I mean, you just don't play on that. And so I would bring in an expert on that and I would get that done. And then once you feel like you have turned over the proper records and everything that person needs, then you start on the point of sale system. So that's what I know on that. Jeff Walsh, thanks for your time in the group. I have a question. We're in the process of trying to grow our sales team, as you're already aware. Yes. We have the option of training a current employee who's been with us for 4 years, he knows our product very well and is showing signs of interest in selling for us. Actually, he has already created a few products and sold them on his own. The other option would be to bring in outside sales. I don't even need to finish reading this thing. Inside, I mean, if this person on the inside who already loves the product and is passionate about it and they want to sell, you absolutely need to use your inside person. It's really hard. I mean, two things on building a sales team. Number one, you've got to find great salespeople, but you've got to find great salespeople who understand your product and who have worked on the inside. Who, they understand the ins, the outs, the technology, the process, the customer, the aftermarket sale, maybe possibly the warranty stuff. You need to take that inside person and make them great. But you need to assign KPIs around it also. You have to decide, and again, me not knowing more, you have to have like a minimum benchmark for production. And I assume from this, and when we talked last time, I assumed, you need an inside salesperson because your business is scaling and it's growing. My initial thought when I read this earlier today, because I always try to be prepared for these calls, is I was thinking, well, why not hire both of them? Because then maybe the inside salesperson, the one that's already been there, could help train the outside salesperson on processes, product, all of that stuff. And potentially this outside person might have more sales experience and you could almost make them a sales team. Again, I'm getting very deep, but when it comes to sales organizations, I like think big and I dream big because that's what I do. So if you could only hire one, go inside, 1,000,000%. But you've got to set expectations, because if this person is used to being an inside salesperson, it sounds like, they're a creator, they're a developer. Those don't always make the best salespeople. Number two, you got to set up a pay plan that is driven by KPIs. It has to have benchmarks that they have to hit for production, and then you have to give them the opportunity to make money, and you probably have to pay them some sort of draw, but you need to make sure that you're covered on that. So happy to have an offline conversation with you about that, but overall, you take the inside first. If you can afford to do both, why not? If indeed you've got the right outside person identified. Let's see if I've got any more questions on here. God, we got lots of people on here today. I'm so pumped up about it. Nancy, Hi, Lisa. I'm in the beginning stage of my jewelry business, and I have just produced my first collection, which I will present in an artistic expo in Belgium. Wow. Where 25 other beginner artists will also show their arts. This will be August 31st through September 1. Although we are allowed to sell, I don't want to do it this time because it's my first exposure to the public. Whoa, Nancy, we're going to talk. However, besides exposing my work and my name, I'm not sure how I can take good business advantage of such an opportunity. What suggestions would you have and give me on these? Okay, Nance, first of all, you're there to sell something. Everything you've got's for sale. I mean, seriously. I mean, I'm going to bet you the other 24 artists that are there are going to have it for sale. Now, I'm not saying jump out in front of people in the aisles and say, hey, buy this, but I've got to think, and I would love to see pictures of your stuff. If you'd post it, it would be fantastic. I would think people are going to inquire about what the prices are for your pieces. And then at that point, you absolutely, I mean, unless it's like a demo line, but I don't think so. It sounds to me like every piece of work you do is custom. Then you need to have a price on every piece, and you need to have a story behind every piece. If someone says, oh my gosh, Nancy, that necklace is beautiful, before you just jump out and say it's $3,600, you need to go into the history of the necklace. What inspired you about the necklace? What is the necklace made of? What are the precious stones? What are the precious metals in it? And I think for an artist, I think it's inspiration. And I don't know if Revi's on here or not, but I loved it when she did my fierce branding. And so when I was at Sean's house and she was taking me around and she was showing me some of her artwork, she wasn't talking to me about the price of her artwork. She was talking to me about what inspired her. And she was super proud of the piece that she was painting, which was the Maserati. Well, I've been a Maserati owner. I love Maserati. Anyways, I was an Italian car dealer. And so for me, the value of that painting was getting higher and higher and higher the more she told me about what inspired her to paint it, the amount of work, time, love that went into the painting, what the materials were in the painting, how many hours it took her to paint this. I mean, it went from being something that's worth this to 10 times more in my eyes. Okay, so sales is about building the value. And I think that that's where the creative class, and I say that with love. I'm a little bit poquito the creative class, but I'm more of an entrepreneur. So luckily that side of my brain takes over to make money. God, I'm looking pretty cute today, right, y'all? And so as the creative class, you want to build a story around your creations. And as you build the story and you talk about it and you tell about the metals and you tell about the stones and you tell about everything and the hours it took you to create it. And what was it that inspired you? Was it, what word am I thinking of? Oh, I can't even think of it right now. I'm telling you, I'm so brain dead, y'all, from travel. But who is your inspiration? Is it an artist? Is it a jewelry designer? Is it a country? I don't know without seeing your pieces and knowing more about it. Once you get people to get involved in your story, if they really believe you and if they love the piece, they're going to say to you, okay, how much is this piece? And at that point, Nancy, you cannot say, oh, no, it isn't for sale. Girl, everything's for sale. So versus you having to be intentional and jump out there and just be pushy, come over to my booth, look at my necklace, it's $3,500. Bring people along the journey. Bring people along your journey. And that's what I did when we launched Fiat Brand back to America. I had to bring people on the journey because it left the country the first time as a rust bucket car, right? And I had to give people the story about why we were relaunching in the United States. And why we were is because the Fiat brand in Italy was going to buy out the Chrysler Corporation and save the American auto industry. And I would literally say to people, I need you to be involved with us. I need you to buy this car. I need you to know that you're part of a movement that's going to help save the U.S. auto industry. This is not the same car that left the country. Trust us. And it was never the car, typically, that sold itself in the very beginning. It was our story, and it was about people wanting to be a part of the success. And I think you need to build a story around each of your pieces. I'm super passionate about this stuff. That's why I'm kind of trying to give you examples and give you ideas to help drive it home, because that's so much of what we do, is that we build stories. And hi, Revy, I see you on there, sweetheart. Yes, and I think Revy just does a really good job of building a story around her pieces or around what she does. And I know, she's not a salesperson. I mean, I know that she's an artist. She's the creative class, but she's so passionate about what she does because she is the creative class, and she creates these beautiful creations from her heart and her soul and her inspiration, that all she's got to do is take me on a journey. Okay? I hope that helps. Miss Flora, how are you? Oh, I keep hearing about eWomen Network. Yes, Sandra Yancey's a good friend of mine, the founder. And other networking groups. Question, do you recommend networking groups, or do you recommend networking in a different way? Okay, I'm all about networking groups. 1,000,000% about networking groups. Why? Because I believe in community. And I think eWomen's a wonderful group. And I don't know where you live, but there's all kinds of groups. There's BNI. Now you have to pay to be in all these groups. And as long as you go into the networking group with this state of mind, how is it I can serve you? Versus walking in there and being one of those people who grabs everybody's business cards and calls for meetings, and I hate those people. That's the reason I quit going to them years ago, especially when I had the dealership. I mean, the next day I would show up, I was speaking, I'd show up, and then I'd have everybody in the world who was at the meeting calling me, hey, can we sell you copiers? Can we sell you printing, advertising? I'm like, whoa, I'm never going back. Versus saying, you know what, I mean, how can I help you? What kind of problems can I solve for you? And really getting to know people. So if you go into networking with the right heart, which is to truly build community, which is to make authentic connections, and you go in there with a servant attitude, that you're there to serve others, then the business will come. And that means you're going to have to show up for more than 1 or 2 meetings, right? You need to become part of the community. You need to be a player in the community and give back, kind of like what we do in Most Won't, I Will, and what Sean has done and the mentors have done. You want to bring more value to people. And then once people see what you're worth and the value that you bring, they're going to buy whatever you're selling. So yes, on networking, and I do like eWomen very much, as long as you're willing to truly, authentically connect and serve everybody in the group. Gabs, hey Lisa, if you had a company just starting out in a market dominated by 2 large, well-established firms, would your communication with prospects be any different than normal? Hold on, here we go. We are compared with these 2 companies 90% of the time, and we have 3 key differentiators that usually get us to the sale. But some prospects do subconsciously think twice about signing with a smaller company. A question I got on a sales call not too long ago was, sounds good, but what guarantees the things you're saying will happen as you say? I did get the sale, but this was a clear indicator for me that some people might have trust issues. Would you include something in your sales calls that help build trust? Oh yeah, great question though, Gabs. Seriously, great question. Couple of things. Biggest is not the best. So many times with bigger firms, number 1, they're more expensive. Number 2, they're super busy, so that it is not a high touch service. And so again, me not knowing what you do, I would really analyze that in my sales call. I'd say, and you never ever run down the competition. So when someone says, well, we're looking at ABC firm also. Well, you know what? They're fantastic, and that's why they're so successful. But what I'd like to tell you about my firm is, and about myself personally, is that I am, and my firm is committed to your success. We are high touch. We are, we're accessible when you need to. When you talk, you need to have referrals. I don't know what you do. It almost sounds like accounting, law, something like that. You need to be able to say, and I'd like to give you a few references. We work with this company, we work with that company, we work with this client, we work with that client. There's nothing wrong with dropping people's names. I wouldn't give them their contact information unless you get that person's permission. But, there's nothing wrong with dropping who your customers' names are. I've got big customers, and trust me, when I'm out trying to get a bigger fish, I absolutely let them know that Google is my customer and Subaru USA is my customer all day long. I don't think twice about it. I have to. because my firm is smaller than some of the other firms out there, right? So that is, that's a trust factor. Who else is doing business with you? But what guarantees the things you're saying will happen as you say? I would really have to know more before I dig into that question. And that's because I don't think we should make guarantees about our products and services. I'm really careful about it, even me personally. I'm an automotive consultant, and I consult for sales teams for all different verticals of business. And when we go out and we sell them, we tell them these are some of the success stories we've had. And if someone said to me, well, can you guarantee that you can have those same results for me and my company that you did for Unishipper? I'd say, no, I can't. But what I can guarantee you is that you'll get the same consistent experience, the curriculum, and the same brain power that we used at Unishipper. But it gets down to, at the end of the day, it's about execution. And you and your team and your leaders have to be present. They have to be willing to execute. And so again, me not knowing more about what you do, I'd be really careful with guarantees. But what I would guarantee is that you will provide a consistent experience, that you will give it all you've got, that you do excellent work. But part of it is on the customer also, right? I mean, how many of us have had customers in the past who have, I mean, here's a great example. I bought this exercise machine, this ab machine, like a year ago, right? On television, like everyone's like rock hard abs. I'm like, okay, great. Well, if I were to call that and I'm sure it does work if you use it consistently, but I haven't because I've been traveling. So if I were to call that customer back, or that company back today and say, hey, by the way, you guys lied on your TV commercial. And if they came back to me and they said, well, have you been using it 4 days a week, twice a day, like what we told you to do in the instructions? No, I haven't. Okay. Then it's not on us because our product works. It's on you because you haven't been using it, right? Does that make sense? So just to give you some context on that. Let's see, Ravi. Oh, thank you. Oh, you're so sweet. And Ravi, I'm supposed to be picking up my prints. I think it's either Monday or Tuesday. I'm so excited, and I'm putting them up in my office, so I will send you pictures of them, sweetheart, so you can see. If you guys have any sort of other questions, I don't see any more. I'm done with all of your questions, but if you want to jump in, I've got a couple more minutes on here. Yeah, okay, so somebody wrote, yeah, I mean, I want you guys to write those down. Scalable, profitable, yeah, here we go. Viable, scalable, profitable. Boom, end of story. I don't care what business you've got. Those are the three ingredients for success. Otherwise, you're just going to work yourself to death. And then you may as well just be working for someone else, because then at least you're guaranteed a paycheck. All right, y'all. I guess that being said, our 12:30 is up. I hope I answered your questions. You guys can always send me a message. Just know that I'm rooting for you. It was so great to meet so many of you in Nashville. It's so great to have like a face and a name. And I know in Nashville, I was talking about showing up well every single time. And I was semi-horrified about coming on today in my baseball hat. But you know what? I didn't want to miss the meeting, and life happens. And I'm just crazy busy on the road. And so it's a good thing. So there is my authenticity and transparency. But again, so fun hanging out with so many of you ladies and gentlemen in Nashville. Made some great friends, and I'm here for you. So whatever I can do to serve. All right. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.